Welcome to the Men of Iron podcast, changing a culture one man at a time. At Men of Iron, we equip men and grow godly leaders through creating and sustaining one-to-one and micro-group mentorships. Go to menofiron.org for more info. Thanks for listening. What is up? Welcome to the show. It's Steve and Paul live from the MOI headquarters. Paul, man, I'm happy to have you today.
I am happy that you're happy to have me here today.
Paul as my co-host. I love it, man. You realize you are the second-time guest on the Men of Iron podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's an honor. Hey, let me put that in my phone. This is the day to remember.
There you go. Add that to your social media bio. Episode 27 is brought to you by the New York Crusaders, a football-based nonprofit providing fitness services to all ages as well as economical development and educational resources. Go to nycrusaders.org for more info. Shout out to my brother Ty. He is the founder and CEO of New York Crusaders. Wow. So I'd love to introduce our special guest today, Aaron Barnett. Aaron is the Business Development Manager for Evolve Corporate. He is a former youth pastor, founder, and CEO of Leading Third, an advocate for using your story to help move this world into a place of imperfections. He launched The Moonwalkers, an online community where you candidly tell the story you've been dying to tell, to talk about where we are, where we've been, and what God has done. He is a student of leadership, church ministry, and life cycles. He believes that building people one life at a time builds a better community, better organizations, and a better future for the local church. AB, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. What's up, guys?
What's going on, man?
Awesome.
That bio, I love it.
Wow, I'm done.
I love it. Let's wrap it up.
He just set the stage and the bar high. That is awesome.
Oh, man.
Aaron, that's good.
Aaron, man, we'd love to just let the listeners and viewers just know more about who is Aaron Barnett.
Heck yeah. Well, I actually brought a curling iron and a 20-pound iron dumbbell for inspiration for this podcast.
So. I love it. You're trying to get up on Paul's level, aren't you?
That's right. That's right. Man, who's Aaron Barnett? That's a tough question, I think, always to answer. But I would say I'm a man that just loves Jesus first and foremost, child of God. Blessed for sure. Man, I love to inspire young guys, young gentlemen, people of all ages. I think inspiration is the key to help people discover what they were created to be. So I would say I try to live out of a place of inspiration, and I try to challenge people well with love. I think that the way you challenge people can be the way that you change people. And so I really believe that I'm called to by God to really press into unity. I'm very passionate about unity and localizing the church and just seeing what God could do through people, through all age groups across this nation as a church, the global church, to see if we could unify more. And so I'm very passionate about unity, and I'm passionate about pulling truth out of people and asking deep questions. Man, I love questions. I love listening. I love learning. And so I love seeing when guys come alive, but when you ask them a certain question in their life, to see the depth of who people are. So I love surface talk, but I can only handle it for so long. So.
That's awesome, man. I love it. We're about to get deep on the Men of Iron podcast, Paul.
Yes, we are. But you know what I really want to point out, I heard as a theme, you said unity, but you said truth. Because sometimes unity is based on affirmation, not wanting to be truthful with people. And that's huge. That's huge.
That's so good.
Thank you for that.
Love it, Aaron. Well, we're going to hit you with take 5, man. You ready?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, take 5, question number 1. Who or what inspires you?
Who or what inspires me? I think what inspires me most is paintings and airplanes. I think being in an airport, sometimes people are on the go and they're going from one destination to another. Paintings start with a stroke and you see something magnificent at the end. And I think that's kind of like the lives of people, where we go from something to something else. From hopefully one stroke to a masterpiece. Ephesians 2:10 is actually my life verse. And so I think what inspires me most is seeing where someone is at individually and seeing where they're at in their journey with the walk with God, the depth of their maturity, the depth of their heart, the depth of their struggle. No sin is too great for God, and I just really love to see people walk into freedom or walk into the life that they were created to live. And so, what inspires me is playing that role, being able to paint some strokes for people and helping people with practical life-giving wisdom that I've learned from so many people to help them along this Christian journey. So
that's so good. All right, take 5. Question number 2 is, what song or album have you had on repeat lately?
Oh man, Hillsong United, all the way, man. Been playing. I think the local church has been playing that a lot. I would say those are my favorite right now.
Awesome, awesome. All right, question number 3 is, what is your favorite childhood moment?
Favorite childhood moment. That goes back with my dad. He is the king of having fun, and we would take late night drives as a fam, and we would go to parks, and we would swing on swings, and my dad would like run in front of the swings, and he would act like we would be kicking them when we'd be swinging. And so, honestly, my favorite childhood memory was just hanging out with my dad, either hunting or my dad was a dude that was just always prioritized family, and so we just always had fun as kids around him. He always made life more interesting.
Awesome, awesome. Take 5. Question number 4, Aaron, is, give us one thing on your bucket list.
One thing on my bucket list would be to visit the 7 wonders of the world.
Awesome.
So that's one thing I would love to do.
Awesome. All right, last question. Take 5 is, what is the most embarrassing or funniest thing that ever happened to you?
Oh man, most embarrassing would be when I was in grade school and I was doing pull-ups, and we had to do those like chin hang things. And this kid came and thought he was going to be funny, and he pantsed me, and everything came down in front of the whole school. So that was pretty embarrassing for sure.
That's called a pull down. Okay.
Yeah, pull down, not pull up.
Oh, that's funny. Well, you survived take 5, Aaron. Man, that was good. What do you think, Paul?
Yes, he did. He did well.
All right, he did well.
Wow.
I love it.
That's awesome.
I love it.
Could we do a 6? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, man, you got it?
No, he'll give us more 6 later.
All right, man. We just love to kind of get into the heart of the podcast here with you, AB. We would love to hear your journey, man, and how you got to where you are today.
Man, I've gone through a lot of pain in my life. I would say that pain is my purpose. Growing up as a kid, I was invested in the church. I grew up in the church. Grew up, going to church on Sunday, Wednesday, the whole thing. I grew up homeschooled. I was pretty dumb. I'm not gonna lie. I remember going into 7th grade and just not knowing a lot of math problems. I kind of cheated all the way through 6th grade, and so when I went to school in 7th grade, I was just kind of just had an IQ that was very low. And so I went to school in 7th grade, and I struggled in school. I felt like I got bullied a lot. I remember taking a math test and just being an 8% on it and getting laughed and made fun of at my class, and just, and I just started getting humiliated a ton just growing up, and just I felt like I didn't have anything to offer. And so I was confused with, if these people love Jesus and, we were raised in this Christian faith and whatnot, like why would kids get made fun of like this? Why is bullying such a big thing? And I remember soon thereafter, I was introduced to pornography coming out of school in 7th grade. All these cool kids asked me to come over, and before I knew it, these guys were like, "Hey, have you heard of porn?" And I'm like, "Actually, I don't even know what pornography is." And it got laughed at and humiliated outside of the school. And I remember going home and typing in pornography as a kid, and just, I remember it was just, I didn't know what it was. So it like flashed on the screen and just kind of woke me up, kind of like, wow, that's what it is, And by the time ninth grade hit, I was sexually addicted to pornography behind my parents' back, just living in like this humiliation phase of my life. Soon thereafter, I started dating a girl. After college, I went through a lot of stuff in my life. I lost my aunts really close. I failed one class in my nursing school, got kicked out of nursing school. I struggle with depression and suicide. My ex-girlfriend not cheated on me, but we had some really rough patches. And just before I knew it, she was just doing some things that were really hard for me to take, and just finding out some things about her that were breaking our relationship up. And just finding out about all that stuff with her, and just with other guys, and just just involved in sin, and just involved in just a life of just, living in sin. And with my ex-girlfriend, I lived a really sexual, impure life in college. Faked it to make it, basically could put on the Christian kumbaya, the Christian face, and just definitely it's something I'm not proud of. It's definitely hard to even talk about on this podcast that I was sexually impure out of marriage. And breaks my heart, because I sometimes feel like I really, as a person, have nothing to offer, and as a dude. And it wasn't until I struggled with depression and suicide and all these things happening in my life at once, and failing out of school, and that I moved down to South Carolina and gave my life to God. And then it was upward trajectory from there. So.
Wow, that is so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. That was very personal. It's funny. A lot of your story and my story are similar. Wow. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you sharing your heart, Aaron. That's as real and raw as it gets. I know it's like you said, it's hard for you to even talk about, but those are the stories that I think need to be heard for sure.
Yeah, man. It's sin is only pleasurable for a season, and when you're in it, you just you think life is good, but the long-term effects and consequences of it, people never process. And now I'm processing all those long-term effects that sometimes are just a huge weight on my shoulder, that I know God has forgiven me of, and just loves me unconditionally. But it's something I can't get back, and it's something that has made me definitely who I am.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting emotional, but it's just, it's I'm blessed. Definitely, God is just so good. So.
Yeah, awesome, man. I would love to hear, from that moment that God saved you, and you gave your life to Christ. From that moment to today, what has God done in your life?
Dude, so I gave my life to the Lord at Resonate. So I grew up in a Christian home, like I said. Resonate was a young adults ministry down in South Carolina in Greenville, right? And 400 people. It wasn't even considered a church at the time yet. And Resonate 400 young adults would come out and worship Jesus, right? And I grew up with a lot of people that told me and showed me that, hey, they love Jesus, but I've never really felt God's love, right? And when I walked into Resonate, I was loved so well by people that I was like, this was foreign. It was just, I would get hugs from people, and people would ask how I am, and I would ask how they are. And I could genuinely tell that these people were real, just authentic, real, vulnerable, transparent community that I've never had growing up. And I was so confused on why people would love me and actually care about my life, and just why I moved down south. And just I would tell them, because pain is really real at some points in your life. So you just when you're really struggling, sometimes that's the thing that people lead with, is their pain. Or you ask people questions, and what comes out of their mouth is what's going on normally in their life. And so I would just candidly talk about the pain that I was going through because I didn't have anything else. My mom would sit on the edge of my bed with me when I was struggling in life, and she helped me. She was my warrior, man. And when I gave my life to God, I actually came into Resonate. It was my fourth week at Resonate. I was like, this is insane. These people are incredible, and like the way they worship God and just the way they believe in God, the way they talk about God. It was just like, this is incredible community. And so I would say I was blatantly atheist at the time, like didn't really believe that there was a God, didn't really believe that he had a purpose for my life. And so I came in to Resonate, and I had like an ultimatum with God. I was like, all right, God. And I know like some people are like, taboo on ultimatums, but that was my moment. I was like, God, like either show up in my life or I'm out. Like, and God has a certain journey for everyone, I believe. And, and that was mine. And I came in to Resonate, and I was like, God, I'm going to worship you as if you exist. And so I came in to Resonate, and I worshiped God like with my heart out on the front row, and I got wrecked. I never felt God's presence like that, so tangible in my life. I just felt like he was just all around me, and like God was just so present. And that was just, I was sitting on the ground with a pool of tears in my jeans, and just like was like in awe of who Jesus was.
Wow.
And then my pastor at the time was Bo Ayers, and he was speaking on that your pain can be your purpose. And he was preaching out of Ephesians 2:10. He was doing a masterpiece series called that God can bring your broken pieces and make them like something beautiful. And I literally felt like I was the only kid in that room, like the only one, man. It was just like, I can't describe how much like different people that I don't really talk to that gave life touch points and gave me hugs and just was like, asked me out for coffee and just like cared. But dude, that's like the heartbeat of Jesus, someone that loves.
Yep. And
I went through so much that like when I gave my life to God, it was like an awakening, and Carl Lentz was like, he always says, the experience of God should dictate your expression of him. And like, I experienced God so tangibly in that moment that it was just like a trajectory of like, yo, I got to tell everyone about this. Like, I got to tell everyone about my story. And like something that I came up with as like, my mantra was that I don't want anyone anymore in my life to come in my life and leave my life without knowing the heartbeat of Jesus. Because who you are, like, who you are right now, it will be like who people talk about. When you pass away, people are going to write one sentence about your life. And my one sentence is that people will never come in or out of my life without knowing the love of Jesus Christ, man. And like that moment was just so transformational. It brings me emotions just talking about it. So
that's so good, man. We talk a lot about at our mentor and protege trainings is your voyage worth writing about? Just to try to challenge men to step into something greater that God has for them. And Aaron, just hearing your story, I can see that you've stepped into that. And I just want to encourage you to just keep chasing after him, man. Your story is phenomenal. I'm just thrilled, Paul, that we get the opportunity to let him share it here on the podcast.
Well, and you said something so poignant about purpose. When purpose, your wounds, your pain is your purpose. But most men fall into their addictions or whatever it is, whether it's sexual addictions, pornography, whatever, because they have no purpose, and they're posing, and they're somebody that they're not. But God changed that in you. He gave you that purpose. So now vision and purpose, and then the scripture talks about man without vision or purpose perishes.
Yeah,
that's so good.
Wow.
Aaron,
it's great.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
No, go for it.
No.
I was just gonna say it's crazy how much like people run from pain. It's crazy how much our generation will just dismiss it, run from it, and I just think that pain, like if you can learn how to communicate the things that are going on internally, the things that no one knows about, the things that you've really struggled with in your past, I really believe that if we can build men or people, specifically men, that are authentic, vulnerable, and transparent. I think those are the three things that build healthy communities. It's things that I've seen in my men's small groups that if we pull authenticity out of people, if we pull transparency out of people, if we pull vulnerability out of people, those are the moments that bring real life change. But there's so many people that just do life, that just hang, and because they like hanging, they like just going out to eat, just chilling. But no one, I feel like, really takes time to be like, hey, like, asking the hard truths, asking the hard questions, being like, hey, like, when was the last time you were vulnerable with the last 5 friends in your life? What was one time in your life that you were very authentic to your core? In the last 10 conversations, were you able to bring transparency at all in? And I think those are the things that men need. We live in a generation, I believe, that is all perfection based. And so we sit in this like realm of perfection, so we don't let God like actually do his perfect work through our weaknesses.
Yeah, and I really, what you were talking about there takes discipline for men to do that. And there's a great quote from one of my favorite authors and speakers is John Eldridge. And he says, some say discipline is hard. Choose your pain. Choose the pain of discipline or choose the pain of regret. And every time we choose the pain of regret, we miss the moments to be disciplined and get closer to Jesus and become transparent, vulnerable, stronger.
Yeah.
All those words lead to strength. All those words.
Love that.
Yeah.
Aaron, we'd love to kind of just speak into more of just kind of your path to purity. As you gave your life to Christ and you talked about, your history with addiction to pornography. How would you define sexual purity?
Dude, sexual purity is something that I would say we need to start having conversations on. I think starting a conversation on is going to bring openness. It's going to bring like awareness to. If you don't talk about it, how is there an awareness on it? I think sexual purity is something that all men struggle with, but few ever, if ever, talk about. And they're only probably going to get talked about it or talk on it when the conversation is of topic. So if you haven't gone 2 weeks without talking about sexual purity as a married man, as a single man, it's a problem. I think we as people need to move into that place of just having more of conversations. How would I define it? I think Jesus is the definition of purity. Purity, I believe, or sexual sin is a sin, right? Lust is a sin, and God makes us white as snow. And so there's times in life, I think, that Jesus presses us with foundational truth, foundational knowledge, and foundational wisdom of who he is in moments. And when guys are struggling in purity, they actually don't take moments of what God is pressing in. So David says, flee temptation, right? So flee sexual temptation. The problem is we like to linger as men, right? And when we linger, I believe that linger will cost you more later. So we linger in this, we stay in this rut, and we sin and we fall into it. And we say, as guys, we say, oh, one time watching porn is not bad. Before you know it, you're watching pornography 365 days. One time having sex out of marriage, it's a-okay, because I'm not going to be doing it left and right. But what problem is we don't view sexual purity as the 10th degree of where we need to live from. It should be a place we live from and build as a foundation on. Why? Because if we don't have sexual purity as our foundation, before you know it, we're going to take all those things, everything you've done with one person, all the things that you look at online, all the things that sexually text about, all the, dating apps that you go on just to get a good high. I just think like all those things will move you into this place of health or consequences. And so I think sexual purity comes out of a place of Jesus, where it's a foundation we need to stay. It's a foundation we need to stand on, and it's a foundation we need to strive for. I don't know if that answers your actual question, but
oh, that was good. That was good. I'd love to hear, as a single man, and what kind of advice, what kind of practical tips could you give other single men out there, and even married men too, honestly.
Yo, I love this.
It's hard to be single today. It
Yep,
really is,
totally.
and to stay pure. So
Yep.
yeah.
Oh man, I could talk about relationships for days, but I think reading a book is key. I think leaders are learners. We heard that as kids growing up. And so a practical thing would pick up a book on marriage. A lot of people don't know the greatness in store because they never read about what are the benefits of something. So what are the benefits of marriage? So I would say pick up a book on marriage. Pick up a book on purity. Get 3 people in your life that challenge you. I'm not talking about asking you with a pillow. I'm asking you with a bat. So give you constructive advice, constructive wisdom with a bat. A lot of guys need bats now, and I just don't believe in comfort. So I'm like, I don't want to give a truth and be like, well, here's a pillow.
Right.
I want to be like, okay, bro, where you at? Like, like black or white, paint it for me. Because I think we need people that challenge us. I would say download a porn blocker.
Yep.
And keep it on. A lot of us download apps, but then we swipe it off. I would say invest in the character. Character is the thing that takes a lifetime to build and a moment to lose. So who are you after 8 o'clock when no one's watching? I would press into charging your phone, charging your laptop, charging your iPad, whatever it is on the other side of the room. Why? Because if you're just lingering at night and you don't have the character to sustain you, you don't have the strong enough faith that you've really invested in. Because I believe that, man, this is something I've really processed when it came down to purity is faith, character, focus. So I believe we need to have the faith. In other words, we need to lean into God, lean into his identity, lean into like what he's trying to teach us every day. We need to have he's going to build character because of that. So then character creates focus. And in times of crisis, I believe that the hardest thing for men is focus, and that we need to lean into this place of focus, because if we can lean into focus, that in the moments of testing and trial, when the temptation is at its peak, we have the focus to regain back our character and refocus back on our faith. David said it like, he said, if we hide God's word in our heart, then we will not sin it against thee, And I truly believe that if you hide it in the identity of Jesus, then God will, you cannot hide in your sin. And I really believe and strongly stand on this, that God reveals what he wants to redeem. And so if we want to remain pure, I would say like plug in your phone on the other side of the room. That's a practical thing that I know would help so many people, but few, if ever, would do it because of pride.
Yeah, you said something there that was really, really key about pressing into Jesus. And a lot of guys are like, what's that mean? I don't get that. Well, let's take this a little step further. It's like, I believe that every relationship, whether you're friends, with your wife, with your girlfriend, is a direct reflection of your relationship with Christ. So if you are close to Christ, you're not going to treat your girlfriend, your wife, your kids, your closest friends like trash. You're not going to treat them like you can just throw them away. You're going to treat them from your relationship with Christ. It is that important. That's the grounding point of every relationship. You can only do something in your own strength for so long, and then you drop it.
Yeah.
you lose
Yeah.
it. So yeah, it's really key. And a lot of guys today, just speaking of guys, like you said earlier, they've lost the will to fight for that.
Mm-hmm.
And when they lose the fight, the fight in them to fight for their relationship with Christ, they will not fight for anything else other than their own sedation and their time alone.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And I really believe that sexual sin stems out of a place of straight loneliness. So because we don't have those people around us that are challenging us and helping us become more like Jesus, what we do is we live in isolation. But when we go towards isolation, right? But what I've learned and I've pressed into is that isolation brings isolation because we want to know if people actually care.
Right.
And so we're called by God to care and love people. I'm called to love my brothers in my small group. I'm called to them individually. The thing is when we live in isolation, it breeds more isolation because we just want to know that the people around us, if they actually are preaching what they say, and I believe we need to grow men that are preaching what they're saying and to like get up close, lean into those people and rub some shoulders with people because, if you're rubbing shoulders with someone, you're going to know if they're gone. You're going to recognize that they haven't shown up to your men's small group in 2 weeks. You're going to recognize that, like they're kind of dissing on, messaging over text, like they haven't hit you up via FaceTime. So I believe that you got to get up close. If you get up close, I think people are going to know if you're absent. So, and then it won't bring isolation. So,
and I just want to tap on one more thing there. You're talking about men being vulnerable in small groups, friendships, brotherhoods, not accountability. Accountability makes it sound like, you got to pass a test. No, brotherhoods means they love with a bat. They love with a pillow too, because after they hit them, they got to lay them down. But there's what guys are dealing with, and I've dealt with even recently. At 49 years old, I still believe you have these ungodly beliefs about yourself. So you tend to want to believe that you're worthless or you're unlovable, or you're this or you're that, and you tend to sit there. Well, that's not truth. God will never say those things to you. And if you let the enemy and you stay in isolation, like you're saying, you are going to believe everything the enemy says. And what the problem is, then you become a traitor within. You believe that you're sabotaging yourself. And staying close to other men in relationships and having that vulnerability and having that brotherhood, you're going to be like, man, we don't see that. We see this in you. You are strong. You are lovable, man. I love you. And then just, you know where I'm going with that. Just you start building strength in other men. You start really seeing that they have a power within Christ, within them, to conquer this. They really do.
So good.
Man, I love it, man. I love your heart, Aaron. Your passion for Jesus is contagious. Your passion for people and community is contagious. I would love, as we wrap up here, man, I would love to just hear, you talked a lot about, inspiring young guys and impacting young guys. I would love to hear the men in your life who have helped you get to the point where you are today and helped you become the man you are today.
Definitely. I would say, I'm just thankful for Chris Armfield and Bo Ayers. Those were two people when I went into Resonate that were my leaders at the time. MJ Salvatore, who's just been this consistent bro. That's my accountability partner. We call, we FaceTime, we check up. And then I would say my dad. He's just like, he's just as real as it gets. He's just one guy that has always pressed me in moments that I needed to be pressed. And he's always been that guy that just has always pulled that I'm called to greater things. He taught me that life is like live out of a place of having your eyes wide awake, wide open. And so I think if we live in that place, like my dad always said, we won't miss a beat when it comes down to people hurting. So.
Love it, man. Shout out to MJ. MJ connected
He's
Men
cool,
of Iron
man.
and Aaron. So he's a good dude, man. We had MJ on the podcast. I don't know, probably episode 15. I forget what it was, but shout out MJ. I know he's listening. I love it, man. Aaron, we just want to thank you so much for being on the podcast today, for sharing your heart.
Yeah. One thing before we go here.
Yeah, man.
Have you ever connected your guys to the Conquer series? Did you ever hear of
The
that?
Conquer series? I have not.
Oh
No.
my goodness. ConquerSeries.com. It's an incredible tool dealing with sexual purity, sexual addictions. Go to it today. It's amazing. They're partnered with Pure Desire Ministries too.
Heck yeah.
Wow. Conquer series. It's, you know how guys were so visual.
Yeah.
And that's why pornography is so strong in us.
Yep.
But Conquer series is cinematic, captures them, and lets you understand how God made your brain and why the enemy likes to hijack it. It's so powerful. ConquerSeries.com.
Yeah, we went through it. We went through it as a staff about 2 years ago. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's making an impact even in the Amish community here. Amazing.
I love it.
Well, AB, we love you, man. We thank you for being on the show. We are in your corner.
Heck yeah, man.
Hey, don't feel free to pick up a phone anytime, man. You got my number. But I love what you're doing out there. We're gonna have to get Aaron as a director for Men of Iron out there.
Oh man, he blasted.
He's already killing it. So.
Oh yes. Wow, it's a natural.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, man, I love it. Hang on, Aaron. We're gonna wrap up here, man. But we'd love to chat after we go off. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think, Paul?
That was powerful, man. His story
was good.
It hits on so many areas for so many men's lives. Something today touched somebody in certain different ways. That's amazing.
I love it, man.
Wow.
Thank you to Aaron for being our special guest today, man. What a powerful story. I can't wait for everybody to hear it. What's new with Men of Iron? March 30th, Paul. We are coming to Petra Church.
Yeah,
are you ready for us?
Yes, we are.
Man, it is going to be the Lancaster, PA launch at Petra Church, and Paul's running the whole show.
Part of the show. Part of the show. Just the background. You guys are taking the big stage.
Oh, man, I love it. For more info on Men of Iron, you can go to menofiron.org. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. Thank you to our sponsor today, New York Crusaders. Shout out to Taiwan Anthony. Love you, bro. And thank you to our special guest, AB. We love you, AB. All right, man, that's it. Episode 27. We are out.